Welcome to another video on Graceville Media Solutions. So in today's video, I'll be walking through the entire process of how I created this church flyer right in Adobe Photoshop. Now this video is going to be an unedited video because I want you to see the entire process from start to finish, including some of the mistakes I made and the decisions that or the thought patterns that powered some design decisions I took. Yes, so it's going to be a complete unedited from scratch to finish design product right here. Right, so the first thing I did was to go to Pinterest to search for some of my design assets, right? Now, because this is a church project, okay, a church contacted me to make this flyer for them, right? So since this is a church project, of course, so we need to, search for something that's related to church, okay, to church projects and stuff. So, and by the way, these are the resource files, the resource files I use for this project. I'll leave the links to where you can get them, to where you can download them in the description. So let me just show you how I was able to source for some of these design assets right here. So the first thing, of course, I did was I needed to search for my background. So I had to go to Pinterest and I searched for, okay, what's that? Okay, Pinterest. Okay, I searched for church flyer background. Okay, church flyer background. So sometimes when I just want to look for really cool backgrounds, I just go to Pinterest and do the search there. All right, so these were some of the designs that I saw on Pinterest. So you can just go ahead and look for any design or any background that resonates with you. Okay, so this was the background I went for. Now this is how the background looks like initially. Yeah, so what I did was when I brought it into Photoshop, okay, let me open it into Photoshop and show you how I was able to get it done, formatted properly. Now, if you look at this design, the what they call the canvas of this one, you can see that it's a 16:9 dimension, right? So what I'm just going to do first is to create a new artboard. So I'm going to duplicate. Let me just come here to create a new artboard. All right, so I've successfully created a new artboard, right? So the next thing I did here was to bring in my the background. So let's go into Photoshop, into my project files, and I brought it right here. And by the way, like I said, I used a dimension of 1080 by 1920 by 1080 pixels, right? So I now extended the background to fill up the canvas or the work area. Right, so this is how you get your resource files from Pinterest. Just in the search bar, type any the keyword you're looking for. All right. So the next thing I did was, okay, so the client provided me with some of these assets, but the other image I had to look for on Pinterest was this very image right here. This very image. So what I did was I logged onto Pinterest and in the search bar I just typed in the keyword God's finger, right? And then I got this one. So the idea is that, right, because the theme of the project says the finger of God, right? So I wanted to use something that shows the finger of God right here, or something that depicts the miraculous hand of God. So I had to go to Pinterest to search for this finger image right here. Okay, so I think those were the only two design assets I searched for on Pinterest. I had other resource files, right? These other ones they were already on my in my assets folder, right? So let's just go into the design proper. Okay, so the first thing I did after I've imported my background, the main background, right? I had to now bring in this other the image of that finger I talked about, right? Because most times, or there's no specific way to design, right? But it's most people would always want to start from the background, okay, and then they work their way to the top, right? So let's just do it that way. I'm going to set up the background. But when I was actually doing this project here, I didn't follow any particular process. I did some of the background, I did the text, and I went back to tweaking the background. So you keep tweaking and adjusting till you get the right thing you want. Now I came to where I have this this blend options right here, and then I chose the overlay option so that it's going to sort of blend into the background smoothly right here. And then if you look at the edges, you see that it has the edges of this background are pretty sharp. So I'm going to brush them off a little by clicking the adjustment layer, right? Take your brush tool, ensure that your foreground color is set to black right here. And then you slowly brush off the edges of this image. Right. Okay. So if you're not if you feel that the background, this other image is still too obvious, you can reduce the opacity by coming down to your opacity segment right here and turn it down. Right. So the lower the opacity value, the less visible the image would be. All right, so next up, I had to now bring in my subject, which is the main, the client image, right? Now, if you look at right here, I put my assets into folders, or the layers. I put them into folders and I renamed them because it's going to help me to properly identify the proper layer for each asset. So the next I did was to bring in this background image, right? So let me just look for it right here. So this is where the image is on the other projects, right? So, okay, I can also bring it in. Let me just bring it in from the main, my assets folder, because I didn't want this thing to be too long though, even though I want it to be detailed, but I don't want it to be too long. So I'm just going to be doing a lot of, I'm going to be speeding the processes along the line. Okay. Now, there's a way that this particular client likes their projects. They always want the image of the main character to be bold, or the password to be bold. So you need to ensure that you ask the clients what they want and work with that. Now, you notice that the image is a bit dark, so I'm going to increase the exposure a bit by pressing Ctrl M, the shortcut, and then I'm going to just raise this a bit. Okay, so that the image will be bright enough. So now I'm going to label this. I'm going to click Ctrl G and label this as the client image. Done. Okay, so next thing I did here was I now had to bring in the logo and then this text, this present text. So I named it here as church logo, which is this here. So all I'm just going to do is just to duplicate that by pressing Ctrl J and drag it into the other layer so that this video won't be too long, right? It's just the same way you import an image and then you add text, right? So it's pretty much that. Okay, so because I assume you all know how to do this already, right? So I'm just going to position it. No, not that. Ctrl Z. Now, sometimes if the background is getting in the way of what you're doing, all you need to do is just to lock it. So in order to lock a particular layer, you come to this icon right here to lock the layer so it doesn't get in the way of what your work of your project or when you're working. Right, so let me unlock it, drag this in. Okay, let me lock it again. Okay, let me adjust this one. All right, so the next thing I did was to add the caption, which is this one, right? So all I did was just simply took my text to by pressing the letter T on the keyboard, and all right, and I typed in the word THE. Okay. Now, right now I used the font. I think it's Montserrat bold I used. Okay, Montserrat, it's semi-italics, right? So pretty much same thing I did here. I also brought in text, the finger of God right here. I also brought it in and fixed it in right here. But let me just show you how I did this. Now, if you look at this text here, you see that it has it has some kind of text effect. I added the text effect. So let me just show you how I did that quickly. I'll just work on those key areas of this project so that this video doesn't become too long. So let me use the word God. Once again, I used Montserrat, and I used it should be the extra bold semi-italics, yes. Right, so what I did was I extended it. Now, how did I choose this color? What I did was I simply had to go to my color picker to right here, and then I chose the color from the tie. Okay, I like this red, and then I just went for a darker shade of it, something like this. Yes, and okay. And so the next thing I did was to go ahead and I duplicated this text by pressing Ctrl J or Alt click and drag. And then I gave it something like a gold color. Okay, let me look for the same color from the other design. Yeah, something like this. Give it something like a gold color. And next one was I took the gold color variant of the text behind the other one, like this. As you can see, it's coming together. Let me adjust this one a bit. So next up, you can see that it has something like a red stroke. The first layer has something like a red stroke right here. So let me show you how I achieved that. Now on the top layer, the first text layer, I right-clicked and I went to what I call the blending options, and then I gave it a stroke color. Stroke, yes. Then I did the stroke, and I chose a red. Oh no. Okay, not gradient. Ensure it's on. Now ensure that under the field type you select solid color, not gradient color. So you can see the red is there, and I reduce it a bit. Right, as you can see, it's making sense. Now ensure that under the position right here, you set, what's going on? Okay. Now under the position, ensure you set it to inside, right here. Ensure it's set to inside. Cool. So let's okay, let me make it a 3. Okay. Then of course, next up, I went ahead to add some I went ahead to add some, okay, let me go back to the blending options and added some bevel, right? So I came to boss bevel and I just adjusted it a bit. Just went to the size. Okay, outer bevel, adjusted it. I think this should be inner bevel, right? Okay, cool. So I just adjusted the text a bit. You can reduce the size, it depends on what you want to achieve. Soften it a bit. So you can just play around it and see what works. I think this one is pretty different from the other one. I think this one even looks better than the first one, right? I think I prefer this one to the former one I even worked on. Ouch. Right? So I'm just going to group this and I'm going to extend it. Cool. I think this one is it's even better than the first one. Yeah, right. I think this one is even better, right? So sometimes when you're creating designs, sometimes you find out that okay, when you create or repeat that same design, you find out that the one you even did is pretty better than the other one. So sometimes it happens. So that's why you keep, just have to keep trying out things to see which one works best. So that's how I created this text effect. I think this one is even looking better than the other one. Right. So next up, I added just your regular the way you say the same way the way. So next up, I added this what they call it now, text regular. I added the date. So let me just show you how I change this color, the color of this icon. Because if you look at here, in my asset folder, you can see that this is the dates, the calendar icon. I can see here is black. So let me show you how I change it to red, right, in my project. So let's go into the project, into my Photoshop to show you how I did that. Right, so I'm going to drag it into, as usual, into the work area. So let me bring it into my zone. So let me show you how I made this one to become red. Right, so now ensure that the layer is selected, the icon layer selected. Now you right click and then you go to blending options right here. Now you come to color overlay and of course select the color you want. Now it's the color that changed is red because that was the last color I used, but you can come to this color, the blend, that's this color icon right here, and you choose any color of your choice. You can leave it white, leave it to black, leave it to blue, like that. Choose the color that best suits the design or suits the background and the color scheme, right? So let me leave it at the red color. This is a darker shade. Yeah. So that's how you can change the color of any icon in Photoshop, right? So next thing, I think the other key thing here is that let me show you how I brought in this torn paper background. Yes. So you can see it's like a torn paper background. So let me show you how I added that to this project. So you can go back to Pinterest and in the search bar, you can just type ripped paper image. Yeah, so when you type in that keyword, it's going to give you a couple of ripped paper backgrounds, right, that you can now import or use for your project. So in order to download this, all you need to do is to come right here and click your download, click these three dots to download your image. Now let me just show you a quick tip when using Pinterest. Now, when you download your image, right, it's the extension is going to give you a WebP, a .webp extension, as you can see right here. And this format won't open in, this image format won't open in Photoshop. So if I right click and I say open with, you see that Photoshop is not among the list of software like open file. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open in Microsoft Paint first. So when this file opens in Microsoft Paint, I'm going to come to where I have file and go to save as. Now I'm going to save this file as a JPEG file, right? So when I save it as a JPEG file, and then it's going to open in Photoshop. So that's how you can open any .webp extension right in Photoshop. Okay, so let me just bring in the image background, the root paper image. Bring it in here. And I'm going to resize it like so. And then next up, now you see that here the tone paper is behind is behind the image of the character, the client, right? So what I did here was I now had to position this paper image. As you can see here, it is in front of the image, but I want it to be behind. So what I did here was to drag it all the way down to behind the layer for the client right here. So I can extend it and it fills up the space here. So this is pretty much what the key component of this design. So okay, this clock icon, you can still go ahead to Pinterest, and though it's in the assets folder, but you can still go ahead to Pinterest and type or go to Google. You can even use Google, type clock icon PNG. Yeah, so you'll be given a lot of icons, or you can even use this website, flat icons. That's also a website where you can get really cool icons for your project. Yeah, flat icons or flat icons. Yeah, flat icons right here. So that's pretty much it. So let's go back to Photoshop. So that's pretty much all about this design. I've broken down the entire process for you. So the other part is just to add your text and this is okay. I got this also from the internet. You can just search for live streaming icon. Okay, for you to add your social media handles, just go on YouTube and Google as well and search for YouTube live stream icon. Yeah, so you'll be given a lot of stuff. Just go under images. Yeah, so these are a couple of live stream icons you can use. So just click on anyone and download, and you're good to go. So this is pretty much how I was able to create this project from start to finish. So if there's any question you have, you can drop them in the comment section, and of course I will attend to them as quickly as possible. Right, so if you found this video useful, please like this video, and of course engage on other videos I have on my channel, because there are a lot of graphic design and video editing videos I have on the channel. So go ahead and watch them, and of course like the videos, subscribe to my channel, and of course I have an entire CapCut playlist for beginners. Go ahead and check them out. I'm sure you'll find them pretty useful. So thanks for watching once again. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course turn on the notifications. So see you in my next video.